Good evening. We are live. It is the NFL Monday show, and it is draft week. It's finally here. Xzavier, looking forward to draft week.
Yeah, it's most exciting time of the NFL season.
It sure is, especially when it's an exciting one. Although, is it an exciting one? Because pick one seems to be sold. I'll get onto that in a minute. People know my opinions on. Sorry, I should always plug my laptop into charge before I start. People know my feelings on that, but I'll get into it a bit later. Picks 2 and 3, not so much a done deal. Your thoughts on picks 2 and 3?
Yeah, I think there's a lot of smoke and mirrors right now for number 2 and 3. I think, especially around that number 2 pick, we really don't know what they're going to do. It's a pretty good consensus, or not consensus, I should say. I should say it's more of like half and half. So, half the people think that Zach Wilson should go, and half the people think that Justin Fields should go. It's kind of how I see it on Twitter. I see a lot of people saying this and that. I see a lot of people saying that, Justin Fields might have his flaws, but his ceiling is just so much higher than Zach Wilson that you should take him in that spot, which I would tend to agree. I think Justin Fields is, a lot better than Zach Wilson. I actually don't even think Zach Wilson is the third best quarterback in this draft, if I'm going to be completely honest about it. But yeah, I think 2 and 3, I think that's going to be some weird picks. I saw, San Francisco. I saw somewhere that San Francisco had narrowed their quarterback selection down to 2 quarterbacks, and that was Mac Jones and Trey Lance. I don't know who said that San Francisco might take Mac Jones, but I sure hope they do, because if they get an actual good quarterback, we could really be in trouble.
Matt Jones is more like a third rounder than the third overall pick. I don't get it personally. We've obviously not seen a lot of Jacob Eason, but I definitely would say Jacob Eason is a better quarterback than Matt Jones. People can hate me for that, but that's just the way it is. Okay, so, the number 1 overall pick. Now, people got this twisted when I said it, but don't get it twisted. I think Trevor Lawrence is extremely talented. My feeling was, apart from being a bit controversial, that's what I was doing, but my feeling is this an Urban Meyer pick? And I don't think so. I think Urban Meyer is going to say all the right things. I think Trevor Lawrence is going to say all the right things. And I think the Jacksonville Jaguars GM is going to say all the right things, because if he doesn't take Trevor Lawrence, he will be chased out of the city, faster than you can blink. I think they don't work as a quarterback head coach pairing. That is what I was trying to get across. Although I'd love to say, just for the clickbait, that Trevor Lawrence is a trash QB. Obviously, he's not. But what are your thoughts on this first overall pick? Because it's a done deal, really, isn't it? There's charity work going on already.
Yeah, I love Trevor Lawrence. I love his demeanor. I love how he works. I love especially his play on the field as well. Like, it's hard not to love Trevor Lawrence. In all honesty, it's hard not to love Justin Fields as well. After you say that, because they're 2 kind of quarterbacks that are on different spectrums of their play style, but 2 quarterbacks that I think will be really effective in the NFL. Thinking back 2 or 3 months ago, people were saying that Justin Fields could be the number 1 pick. There was this debate going on about it, and then Justin Fields somehow is the 4th best quarterback. It's just trendy. I think the quarterback thing is just trendy. I think Justin Fields. Oh, no, I'm sorry, not Justin Fields. I think Trevor Lawrence should be the number 1 pick just by his body of work alone, just what he's shown. But yeah, I get where you're coming from. He's not like I don't think he is an Andrew Luck status. I think he's the best quarterback that's been in the draft since Andrew Luck, but I don't think he's like shown to be a surefire Peyton Manning blue chip or a Andrew Luck blue chip, like you would say.
Yeah. I mean, I looked on it. Obviously, we tried getting on, but there was problems. But I did look at it, and I was looking at previously drafted number one quarterbacks. And I think the sort of most comparable quarterback I could find was Baker Mayfield. Maybe not in the sense of play type, he's sort of different play type, but in level of talent. And that's why I don't know, call it naivety, but I wouldn't be 100% sold that he's going to be in Jacksonville for the next 10 to 15 years. Anyway, can you see anything other than a quarterback go in the first three picks? Or let's say top five. Let's say what you think, not necessarily players, but position-wise, what's going top five?
Yeah, I think the first three are just solidified quarterback. I don't think the first three could be anything else. If San Francisco would give up that much trade capital for anything but a quarterback, a lot of questions there to be raised about Lynch as GM. Maybe a few moves there to make in the upper management. But when it comes to 4 and 5, I do think there's going to be two positions taken that's not going to be quarterback. Number 4 to Atlanta, I don't think they're going to take that fourth best quarterback or whoever's left on the board. I don't think that's in their plans. I think they'll take a guy to replace who is aging right now, Julio Jones. There was talks about trading Julio Jones. If they select who I think they're going to select in Kyle Pitts, then the Julio trade after July 1st to save that $15 million cap room would make sense. Julio's 32, 33. I'm not really sure how old he is, but he's getting up there. He's an aging star. They need a new guy to come in there, be that stud number one option, be a diversion for other people on the field. So I think that could be a big thing. And at number 5, of course, we saw what happened to Joe Burrow last year. It's sad. Against the Ravens, Browns, and Steelers, he's just getting beat on like a drum. I could see, like a Penei Sewell pick up there. I think that's a good home for him. I think Joe Burrow will be ecstatic to see Penei Sewell protecting his blind side for like 15 years. So, if anything is going to go in them top at the 4 and 5 spot, I think them are the two guys.
I mean, yeah, Penei Sewell's like a Quentin Nelson pickup, and he's just, as a lineman, what makes you fall in love with Penei Sewell?
Man, it's everything. Penei Sewell's that guy. Like Quentin Nelson coming out, he's just huge, monstrous player, 6'6", 330 pounds, similar to Quentin Nelson, but an inch taller. Moves incredibly well for a size, just like Quentin Nelson. Reads the game at a much faster pace than pretty much everyone he plays against. His footwork is ecstatic, just like Quentin Nelson. I mean, you could almost compare Penei Sewell to Quentin Nelson. And honestly, Penei Sewell is a little bit better of an athlete. I don't think he's anywhere near as good as a run blocker, but as a pass protector coming out, he is, I think, a little bit more solid. People like to pull up that statistic. I mean, Quentin Nelson's a guard. He's not protecting against these, top tier edge rushers and stuff. Sewell will be tested with that, and I think he will be able to come out day one and compete against these good players that's going to be in his conference, and Myles Garrett and not a Bud Dupree anymore, but a few guys from the Steelers, and of course, what's his name? A few other guys in that conference as well. I think he'll be able to compete.
Yeah. So draft week is an interesting time, of course, and I don't know if you saw right where we had quite a bit of controversy with the European Super League, where it was going to be a breakaway league based in Europe, obviously, and it was going to be more of a no relegation thing like America have with their sports. Do you think something has to be done to stop tanking?
Yeah, that's a good question. How would you go about that though? Is the issue? Like, could you really put a penalty? Maybe. I don't know. I really don't know.
I mean, so this was just a off the top of my head example that I literally thought up having a coffee one day on one of my coffee breaks. You have so you have the XFL that obviously runs in the off season. You have the two bottom teams of the NFL. So let's say it would have been the Jags and the Jets this year. They don't get the first round pick. They have to go into a relegation battle where they play each other in a sudden death game. Let's say the Jets win. The Jets stay in the NFL, okay? And that means the Jags would go down to the XFL. Then the XFL would do the opposite. So they would have two teams. Whoever won their Super Bowl would come up to the NFL. I don't know. They get they get a pick somewhere along the lines, or they're compensated in cash, or they're compensated in a free agent from the Jags, or something like that. And then the third worst team would. Oh, it's crashed again. What technology? Yeah, so I'll carry on explaining. So the third worst team would. He's back. You're back.
Yeah, I don't know what happened.
What about boring?
No, but I see kind of what you're saying there.
Yeah.
So
third worst team would get the number one overall pick. So you can't if you tank, you're in danger of being knocked out of the NFL altogether.
Okay, yeah. So that would be the penalty. Would just be losing. In the NFL, that would be hard to orchestrate. I feel like one, because I don't think there's enough talent in the XFL to be able to compete coming into the NFL.
Yeah.
And two, yeah, with the amount of money that gets thrown around the NFL is the most lucrative sport in all of the world. You think of every sport there is in the world, there's more money pumped into the NFL just by the fans alone in America than any other sport, which is pretty ridiculous if you think about it. I mean, you think of how many European people there are, how many people there are in the Middle East watching sports, stuff like that, especially in Asia as well. Like, it's pretty crazy to think about that. Mm-hmm. But still, yet, I feel like that system works. But if they're doing that in soccer, that would mean that I feel like that would mean that there's going to be like 5-6 teams that just always are consistently dominating for years upon years upon years. And that sucks, especially being fans of smaller teams. I feel like that would really shit on the little guy, in a sense.
I mean, I know it gets a lot of criticism, but does the lottery system work? Like what the NBA
have? Sometimes.
Sometimes.
Yeah, whenever the correct people get the picks, I would just rather it be, wherever you finish is where you get your pick. I don't. I don't think there's any team that just go out there and continuously lose on purpose. To tactically lose, yeah, that's pretty bad. I mean, it's bad for the fans, but I don't think any team. Like, I don't remember a team in recent memory that like I visibly watch and they're like trying to lose. Like, the Browns kind of looked like it, but that was just more coaching, than anything. It's just like you would watch them play and it was like, yeah, it looks like they're trying to lose. Oh wait, no, they just suck. It's just all you could really say.
Suck for luck. You didn't get behind that.
Okay, yeah, but I think Curtis Painter played a bigger hand in us losing than the rest of the team.
But no, it's an interesting conversation, and it's a conversation you could have 2 million times and make up multiple different scenarios. Like, you can't have back-to-back first round, like, number one picks and stuff like that. I don't have a problem with the system. I quite like the draft. It's exciting. Is the draft? Is it a virtual one this year, or is it going to have people there?
It's good to have people there. So
that's cool.
yeah, according to something I saw, I think like all the main people that are going to be shaking hands have the vaccine. So I think there's going to be 50 prospects in attendance.
Mm-hmm. Is there a Darius Leonard in this draft for you? Like, is there someone that will be obviously somebody will be labelled the worst draft pick, but is there that real underdog pick you see in this draft somewhere?
There's one guy that's actually coming out of the football team I like in college, and that's Kentucky. And he's a beast. Let me tell you, he's a beast. And he just recently climbed up the draft board. If I could remember his name, because I watched him all season. He is a really great player. Can't remember his name right now. It'll come to me in a minute. But he's a really talented guy. Really fast, really athletic. Big frame too. He's like 6'5", 6'6" kind of guy, 250. And I think he ran a 4.5. I think that's what everyone was like crazed about. Dude is like moving at the same speed as running backs at 6'6", 250. Yeah, that's pretty crazy. And he's recently moved up into like the top 7 category of linebackers. I've seen people have him as high as number 5, number 4. Seen him people above Nick Bolton, which is pretty crazy as well. So yeah, if we could somehow land him in the 3rd round or something like that, that would be crazy because he would be a great player for us.
Okay, that would be good. The draft is very unpredictable. Of course it is. We can't tell what these GMs are picking or thinking. It's up to them at the end of the day. What move at the draft would make you the happiest from Chris Ballard? What would you be real stoked if the Colts picked up?
I want an edge rusher, so I would have to say edge rusher of some sort. Maybe Aziz. Algelaria. I think that's how you say his name. Jalen Phillips. He has a lot of injury concerns, so kind of hesitant on him. Believe it or not, I still like the edge rusher, Gregory Rousseau out of Miami. A lot of people stopped liking him because of his pro day. It wasn't that good. He ran like a 4.7, which is not slow at all for edge rusher, in all honesty. But Jalen Phillips ran like a 4.5. Still yet, Gregory Rousseau is still a guy that has great size, great arm length, huge hands, explosion, and he has motor. Most edge rushers coming out of the draft, see what a lot of people are missing out right now on. A lot of people that look at edge rushers nowadays want this just pure product. They want someone to come out, be able to use their hands, fight, have a pretty good repertoire of moves already coming out of college. And, a lot of people that are going to make an impact don't do that. A lot of people don't come out and just, day one are putting, moves on people that some defensive ends don't even pick up till year 5, year 6. So I still think Gregory Rousseau could be a good player for us. I would love him to get drafted to us still. Contrary to popular belief, I know a lot of people are just got on the it took one bad pro day, and everyone on Twitter was just on the hate Gregory Rousseau train. It was pretty funny.
This is my pet peeve with the draft is you can't buy into habits and bad pro days obviously if it's ugly. I get how that can affect a draft, as a coach, you're looking at these players. But I think the only thing that should be taken into account is actual live scrimmage, because look at Phillip Rivers. If you watch the way he throws or the way he throws the ball on a pro day and that's all you watched, you would never have picked him. And now we're talking about him as a Hall of Famer. So that, and these kids, I don't know exactly how your age scheme works. But how old are these college players? 21?
Yeah, they could be anywhere from 20. Usually the latest age you're going to see is 23, 24, but you're not going to see a lot of GMs opt to sign a guy that's 23 or 24 years old out of college. Most of the good players are going. They're either going to be a red shirt sophomore or they're going to be a junior. So you're going to see about 20 to 21. That's the age range.
And yeah, that's to the point I was making. Is it's these are kids. They're going to make mistakes. They're not. Pressure gets to them. I know if I had to perform a pro day in front of Belichick, Frank Reich, Shanahan, all the coaches of the NFL, I would be shitting myself too. So, I could watch Gregory Rousseau, like you say, on tape in scrimmage and think, this is good. So for me personally, is it just agents that make all this talk happen? Is it other people's agents? Because surely the scouts and stuff, they look at live scrimmage. They don't look at combines as much, do they?
Yeah, I think film speaks volume way more than one day at a pro day does.
Yeah.
I think Gregory Rousseau will go in the first round. I have I don't want to say the utmost confidence in it, but if he slips to the second round, that's like sleeper pick. That is, that's just someone has blundered that needs an edge rusher that he will come in any scheme, 4-3, 3-4, whatever you want him to play, 4 tech, 5 tech, anywhere there. He will dominate eventually, 1 to 2 years minimum or maximum, I should say. He's just that guy. He's that kind of athlete. And the real only reason people gave him flack was because he only had a 30.5, 31-inch vertical, something like that. They're like, oh, he has no explosion. Well, you go watch his film, and it's literally all the guy is. Like, he is just peeling off the edge, smacking into your tackle, and running at the quarterback. Like, it's literally all he does.
Yeah. Let's flip back over to offense and tackles. Obviously, the big split between Colts fans at the minute is edge rush, offensive line. The tackle position is an interesting one. Me personally, I think we can save tackle to the second round. What tackles do you see going, or what offensive linemen? Obviously, Penei Sewell, but what other ones do you see going in the first round?
There's a few. I actually posted a tackle list earlier. I don't know.
You did. That's why I asked you the question.
Let me pull that up right quick. Of course, Penei Sewell, Rashawn Slater, I think will definitively go in the first round. Now, the thing about Rashawn Slater is no one really knows what he's going to play because he's a smaller guy. He's like 6'2", 6'3". He's not a big guy at all, size-wise, but he's got like incredible footwork, probably the best footwork in the draft. He's explosive. He hits really hard. He's not a mauler or anything. He's not like a Penei Sewell or a Darisaw or a Tevin Jenkins, but he does his job in the run game, and then he's a very, very sound pass protector. So I think anywhere he gets drafted, whether it's guard or tackle, he's going to be able to produce. I think he's going to go in the first, along with Christian Darisaw, of course, who is one of the best maulers in the draft, and who I think is the second best tackle over Slater. I think Slater's a better offensive line in general, but I think Darisaw is a better tackle, if you know what I'm saying there.
Yeah.
Samuel Cosmi, I think he'll go in the first. And it's a toss-up whether Alex Leatherwood or Tevin Jenkins, because I have Alex Leatherwood at 5 because of his pro day, Tevin Jenkins at 6. But either of those guys could be sleeper late first-round picks. For me, if they both went early second, I wouldn't be incredibly surprised. But I think both of them guys, wherever they go, will be day one starters and make an impact day one. So whether they're picked up late first or early second, they're going to produce.
Yeah. Cool. I wanted to ask a question. William Eichenberg, is it Notre Dame?
Yep.
Do you see him going early second? Because I've heard a lot of hype about this guy, and obviously, Notre Dame linemen or anything to go off. They're a pretty good unit.
Yeah. I think Eichenberg has potential. I think one of the issue I have with him is he's just kind of stiff.
Yeah.
If you like an offensive lineman, good offensive linemen aren't stiff people. They bend. Like you look at Quentin Nelson, there's not a stiff bone in his body.
Yeah.
You look at all the good ones, Zach Martin. You look at Ryan Kelly. You look at Braden Smith is kind of stiff, but he's probably the strongest lineman in the league. So I guess you could be stiff when you bench press 550 pounds in high school. But yeah, I like Eichenberg. He reminds me a lot of Anthony Costanzo coming out. I mean, like really weirdly similar, especially in play style, just how they move, just the consistent reps they take, because he does a really good job in pass protection, just like Anthony Costanzo did coming out, just like he did in the league. So I expect that to be kind of his ceiling. I think he can work into an Anthony Costanzo mold. He's going to be a good player for 10, 12 years for a team and then probably retire. So I think he will be a good player. I could see him, like you said, early second, maybe later on in the second, fall to a team that really needs him. And like I said, be a day one starter.
Yeah. Who's the most explosive player in this draft or on the draft boards, we'll say?
So out of any position?
Yeah, just like who you think, Jesus, he's good.
Oh, Kyle Pitts.
Okay.
Kyle Pitts.
Mm-hmm.
Kyle Pitts is a mismatch made in hell for any corner, any linebacker. Because if you are a linebacker, he is still 2 to 3 inches taller than you. He is 0.2. He is running a 4.4 40-yard dash. So he's faster than you. He has the longest arms ever recorded at the draft, so his arms are longer than yours. His vertical was like 38 inches, so he jumps higher than you. I mean, you look at everything he does, you can't find an issue. He's like Julio Jones, but 6'6" and 250 pounds, whatever he is.
He is a tight end, isn't he? Yeah. I get extremely talented, but tight end is a position that people can sleep on. Could you see a slip there possibly? Because I'm looking at the teams in the top 10 out of who really needs him. I'm trying to think now. I can't.
Yeah, it's possible. When you look at people like Darren Waller, and Travis Kelce, and then George Kittle as well, but George Kittle is more of a traditional tight end that just I don't know. He's like a tight end that is just better at everything than every other tight end, and then also on top of it, he's the best run blocker in the league. So I guess that's not a good comparison. It's like
I get what you're saying though.
Like Darren Waller, who plays for the Raiders, is a really good comparison to Kyle Pitts. And what Gruden does with Darren Waller is really good. Like it suits him perfectly because they don't use him like a traditional tight end. They use him like a weapon. They use him like a guy that they know is just going to be better than whoever they line him up against. And he does, back-to-back 1,000-yard receiving seasons. Not many tight ends can do that. And I expect the same for Kyle Pitts. I don't think in today's NFL, a tight end isn't put into that mold that they were 10 years ago or 20 years ago. They're not put into that, one size fits all kind of thing. There's multiple tight ends on a team for a reason now, and then there's multiple uses. And I think Kyle Pitts, wherever he goes, utilization will be. It really don't matter what you do. You put him in, he's going to perform. Kind of how I see it.
Yeah. Obviously, barring Mac Jones, who's the most overrated player coming into this draft?
Most overrated.
Yeah, not including Matt Jones because that'd be too easy.
Yeah, that would be a little too easy, wouldn't it? That's a good question. There's a few guys I'm really not high on. Yeah, I guess.
Their draft after this video, their draft stock is going to plummet, and they're going to go in the 6th round because of Xzavier. So
yeah, for sure. I think the guy that I think is a little just too juiced out of the world, like, is just Rashawn Slater. Like, I had a guy that had 17,000 followers. He did something for the Eagles. Just starting arguing with me on Twitter about this, and I was like, he's like, we need to start talking about Rashawn Slater being the offensive line number 1 more. And then I was like, generational talent, greater than sign, great talent, because Rashawn Slater is a great talent, but he's not Penei Sewell.
Yeah.
Sorry, someone walked in. But he again, Penei Sewell, in my opinion, is a generational talent. So he was like, and so he messaged back. He says, "Who are you talking about? Who is the only other player in the draft that is, being compared to Rashawn Slater, or Rashawn Slater's being compared to?" That's obviously Penei Sewell. And he was just like saying something about, I was like, yeah, I think that Penei Sewell is better, blah, blah, blah. He's like, yeah, most people do, and sent me a smiley face. And then I was like, yeah, you're right, most people do. And then he blocked me. So I was like, well, that was entertaining. But yeah, like, it's crazy. Like, these people would just come out of the woodworks. They watch one game where he did good against Chase Young. So he did have a good game against Chase Young. That's where a lot of this kind of stems from, in my opinion. And it's just like, after that, it's just like people just say, well, he's proven against good talent, blah, blah, blah. You can't talk reason into some of the people's heads on Twitter. And I think that's kind of maybe he's not overrated. Maybe it's just people overrating him on Twitter. But that's kind of how I see it. I think it's Rashawn Slater at this point.
Okay. QBs, obviously, we talked a lot about changing the mold. Players, it's a different game to what it was 10 years ago. It's a different game to what it was a year ago. It's always changing. It seems to be now the fashion for QBs is to scramble out of the pocket and make a play. I'm more of I would rather build an offensive line that can keep my quarterback in the pocket. Do you think it's more benefit? Obviously, it's beneficial to have a quarterback who can turn it and run 40 yards and pick up a first down without sweating. But what I'm trying to say is Peyton Manning, Lamar Jackson, that sort of debate. It doesn't have to be personal reasons, but what prototype of quarterback are you taking?
Yeah, Peyton Manning. What?
What? Yeah, okay. Maybe not Peyton Manning, but like Peyton Manning's playing style compared to Lamar Jackson's playing style.
Okay.
Yeah.
I got you. I was like, yeah. That's a tough question. To me, the new generation of quarterbacks, such as Lamar Jackson and Kyler Murray, even not Daniel Jones, Buffalo's quarterback,
Josh Allen.
Why couldn't I remember his name? Crazy. But yeah, Josh Allen. Josh Allen runs like a 4.5 40-yard dash. He's a fast guy. He's not slow. That new generation of quarterback, it's fun seeing that. It really is. And I think there's a lot of ways to scheme up running plays for your quarterbacks that don't get your quarterback injured.
Yeah.
Like, you watch a lot of Baltimore's games. Baltimore will run the ball straight up the middle with Lamar Jackson, and he will go for 60 yards.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard to account for the quarterback in the running game because defenses have been designed to not do that for years.
Yeah.
And even over the past 10 to 15 years, when this read options came into play and people are seeing these fast quarterbacks, it still hasn't caught up, in my opinion. I think what Lamar Jackson does is like miraculous. It's literally game breaking because it's causing defenses that play against him to put 11 people on the field focused on him. Like they can't breathe when Lamar Jackson's on the field because of what he does. Now, if you're talking about a prospect that are of the same level, blue chip variety, like Kyler Murray versus Trevor Lawrence, I'm taking Trevor Lawrence. Like I want the guy that's going to be in there making the reads, helping his offense, checking everything. Not that Kyler Murray doesn't help his offense, but a guy that can do what Trevor Lawrence does, I still feel like impacts the game more than the Kyler Murray that can scramble for 100 yards in a game. Because I think it puts a lot more pressure on a defense when quarterback can put a ball anywhere he wants, 40, 50 yards down the field, than a quarterback that can run for 10 yards here and there.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose the point I'm trying to segue to is the game is getting more and more athletic. Players are doing things, people get faster, people get stronger, people get quicker, all that jazz. Is there a point where, we do full circle and we end up back at, how am I trying to put? I'm basically saying, is the game evolving past the point of, because it's great to watch. Of course it is. But are we going to get to a point where the game's going to be boring? Not so much boring, but a bit dead because, scoring, a quarterback throwing 15 touchdowns in a season was considered good to great, whereas now it's 30 touchdowns or they've had a bad season and stuff like that. That's what I'm trying to get at. Do you think the game's going that way where we have to start looking, we've been so lucky with wealth of talent, Manning, Rodgers, Rivers, guys throwing unbelievable numbers. Do we just maybe have to scale back our expectations a little bit of what talent is and what special is?
Yeah, it's kind of crazy. I love hearing what people that are 20 years older than me and 30 years older than me say about football because like it's almost incredible watching this like generational switch of quarterbacks.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid to now, like it's like watching the game played in complete different ways and people dominating in complete other different ways. It's just like it's incredible. Like you see how Peyton Manning dominated, where he just knew everything you were doing on the defensive end. And he would know 2 plays from where, like he would talk about it. He would say, I would run this play, and then for the next 2 plays, I knew what they were doing exactly. And he like wrote it down on a piece of paper and shows it after the game. Like that was like mind boggling to me. The fact he could do that. But it goes from that to Lamar Jackson just absolutely gashing people up the middle for 60 yards or Lamar Jackson. Lamar Jackson at the same time was 40-0 on the red zone touchdowns interception. Well, he has 1 now, but at the same time, Lamar Jackson's still a good thrower. Don't get me wrong. I keep talking about his running, but it's pretty incredible. Now, do I think the generation, the way offenses has changed, is going to keep it like this? I think it is, and I think it's the rule book too. The rules are a little bit more strenuous on the defense than they used to be 20, 30 years ago, They definitely give the offense the upper hand, I feel like. As a defender, you are at a disadvantage, and you have to deal with that. You have to make plays. You know that. You know that's your job coming in, so really can't complain. You just got to really play through that. But I think the biggest thing that we're seeing now, though, is the Kyle Shanahan offense.
Mm-hmm.
There is 15 other teams that are emulating what Kyle Shanahan runs. 15. There's countless teams that just watch Kyle Shanahan in Atlanta when he coached the Falcons. They went to the Super Bowl. Matt Ryan won the MVP. And they're like, holy shit, we got to do that. And then everyone's doing it now. It's like everyone. And I think that's a big reason why you see a lot of these big total yards players is because Kyle Shanahan has broken football.
Mm-hmm.
He has made the cheat code playbook for football. Like, he is that guy. Kyle Shanahan is revolutionary with what he does. And that's why, like, if he picks Mac Jones or, you know, Trey Lance, I would be ecstatic, because if he gets Justin Fields on his team, like, you know, we're in trouble. He could be saying that just as jokes, and he's going to pick Justin Fields. So, like, no one really knows until the pick comes in. But yeah, I think to your question, I'm kind of rambling here. My fault. To your question, I don't think that we're ever going to see it scale back. I don't think we're going to see like the rules be reverted and defense can be more physical. I think that honestly, it's probably going to be the other way around. The offense is probably going to get more and more leniency, make it strict on the defense, and then it's just going to be an offensive league like it's kind of been the last 10 years. It's just going to be more offense.
Well, yeah, touchdowns make money for the league, don't they?
Yeah, pretty much.
That's how it goes. I don't know how far you've looked into this draft class or how deep you've looked into it, but do you have Mr. Irrelevant, or do you have a worthless pick?
Kinda, I guess. There's a guy by the name of Walker Little, and he was a blue chip prospect coming out of high school. When I was in high school, I watched him.
Mm-hmm.
He was a year younger than me.
Okay.
And I watched some of his film like on 24/7 Sports, because they keep the top 100 recruiting board. And he was like number 3. He was the top tackle.
Mm-hmm.
And so for the last 2 years, in 2018 he played. 2018 he played. He was a good player, great player freshman year. I mean, one of the best tackles in the nation. 2019 he gets injured, tears his ACL first game, doesn't play the rest of the season, and this season he sits out. He's like, people know who I am. I'm Walker Little. I'm a great player. And a lot of people don't talk about this guy. Walker Little is going to be incredibly talented in the league. He is one of the best tackles in this draft. It's just teams aren't going to draft him because of his injury, and 2, just not enough film on him. But Walker Little is going to be a great player.
Mm-hmm.
And in all honesty, if we didn't take a tackle in the first 2 rounds, and somehow in the 4th round we got Walker Little, I wouldn't be worried. Like, you go watch his freshman film, it's better than half the top 10 tackles I have on this list. It's really good. Really good.
What school is he out
of? Stanford.
I mean, so he's playing at a high level.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah, let's talk him up. He can be our Mr. Irrelevant. I'm going to watch out to see if he gets picked. Because I didn't have a Mr. Irrelevant. I'm going to be honest, I don't have the knowledge to go that deep into draft prospects and stuff. I'm at the level of experience where I could probably go into the 3rd round of draft players and stuff like that. But, there's so many players coming in. Is there somewhat, because I don't know how exactly the rules is, but you can declare for a draft after your first year in college, right?
No, you have to be 3 years. 3 years.
Okay, so you have to do 3 years,
yeah.
And then you can declare. Is there someone you thought was going to declare this year, a superstar that you thought was going to declare that hasn't, or is there someone you didn't expect to declare that has?
If we were talking about college basketball, absolutely. Yeah, because everyone on UK's roster, the University of Kentucky, who I'm a fan of, like, I was born in Kentucky.
Yeah.
We are the winningest program in NCAA history.
Mm-hmm.
So from a college basketball standpoint, Kentucky has won the most Final Fours. We don't have the most championships, but we've made the most appearances, most Elite Eights, everything. Yeah. We are the winningest program in history. And this year we had the worst season in Kentucky history. Like, it was horrible. We were absolutely horrendous. Like, I didn't even watch half the games probably. Like, and I usually never miss a UK game. Like, Kentucky fans are just wild. Like, we are like crazy. Like, Big Blue Madness is insane. Like, I usually go to it every year. blue-white game, the scrimmage usually has 30. It's just a scrimmage between the team, and there's like 30,000 fans there usually. Like it's packed, like as big as the arena will let us. But the thing is, okay, so I got into college basketball. My bad. I'm just rambling at this point.
That's a different podcast.
Yeah. What was the question again? I got into college basketball.
Did you have a player that you thought was going to declare that didn't declare for the draft? Did you have a player that has declared that you didn't think was going to?
Not off the top of my head.
No. I mean, that's right. It's just,
yeah.
I just know, some people say, oh, he shouldn't declare because he shouldn't want to play for the Jets and stuff like that. Or you get the whole Eli Manning situation. I mean, what do you think of players staying in college, maybe trying to avoid a certain team? I don't think it happens as much now, but it has happened in the past. Do you think that's something that needs to be looked at in rule books and stuff?
That's a tough question because honestly, the way college football works, you really it doesn't work like that. Like you can't tell the player where he should go, and I mean I've never heard. I mean, the Eli Manning is one thing, but there's not many examples of people that just stay because they don't want to play for a certain team. Most people that stay the extra year just love college football and love the team they play for and want to win. It's just more about motivation. Eli Manning from the jump knew he was destined to be a good quarterback in the league. I mean, he's, bloodline with Peyton Manning and Archie. There's a lot of there. So I think that's a little bit different of a scenario than you'll see with just the average great player coming out of college.
Yeah. Okay. That's all I had for today's show. Did you have anything you want to throw
out? No, not particularly, other than hopefully we draft a tackle first round.
I hope we draft in the first round, because if we draft back, I'll be not too happy. That's it. We've been talking football nearly 50 minutes now. That's a big show in the off season. Our next show will be, let me think. We'll do a show on Saturday. Obviously, that'll be post first round draft, so we'll get all the reaction from us two on Saturday. I am doing a mock draft with the actual boss of UK Colts fans, Elliot, tomorrow, so people come by, check that out. Xzavier, how is your positional battle series going on, or whatever you call it?
It's going all right. Kind of got derailed by the computer, but we're back on now. We're good.
Yeah, that's excellent. For people that don't know, Xavier's doing your top three or the league top three?
Oh, my top three.
He's doing his top three favorite players, film room type of video, I'm going to say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Go and check that out. Worth a watch. I've watched a couple. We've been the UK Colts fans. My co-host is, as always, is I'm going to get this right. I am the HOA.
Yeah, man, you got it.
Yeah, on Twitter. Like, subscribe, all the jazz, you guys know. Thanks so much for watching. See you all later.